the whole idea behind intellectual disability, or before it was termed intellectual disability, there used to be a nasty word that was used to call it. They used to call it mental retardation and so forth. So in the latest diagnostic manual, they did away with that, and then they said, you know what, it's intellectual disability, and they did away with that derogatory term. So when you look at intellectual disability, basically we are looking at somebody who has been tested and has an IQ of about 49 and below. That is if you're using a standardized test like the Wechsler's intelligence scale for children and so forth. And not just that, we also look at what we call social and occupational functioning. And for us to term something as a mental disorder or a disability to some extent, it has to cause significant occupational and social dysfunction, meaning to say this is somebody who has such a challenge that they cannot take care of themselves and are probably a danger to themselves and to some extent to others as well, or they need quite a huge amount of care. So in terms of intellectual disability, we look at primarily three major areas. When we test, or when I test for intellectual disability, if we are using an intelligence scale like the WISC or the Wechsler's intelligence scale for children, we look at verbal verbal IQ, which is your use of language and your knowledge, your vocabulary and what you speak. Because we always say psychology as a field, it has a short sort of history, but it's as old as life itself, or the planet, or as old as humanity. Some of the terms that we use, they in common language, they indicate some of these psychological concepts, like in terms of language, you can that on its own, the vocabulary that somebody uses and so forth can tell you the level of development that the person has, meaning to say that at a particular age you're supposed to be using certain words, you're supposed to understand certain words and so forth, and if you don't, then that means that there's a problem.